I had Northern Rhone.
So here's the
Coqueron.
okay. Let's play the
Hermitage.
let's play the wine encyclopedia game. So you turn it to a certain page, and then you start naming the wines that are there. Oh, you don't have.
No.
Oh, this is okay.
This
I got the
mine
wines.
is just the
All right,
the
I got
Atlas.
wines. Okay.
Hermitage.
We're live.
We were just there. We're live.
5:30.
Oh. Hello, everyone. We are live from the library. Sherlock, are you reading something
Yeah.
interesting?
I sure am.
Sotheby's, did you buy that at an auction?
Yes, exactly.
Actually, there's some great books here. This is Janik Robbins. This is an atlas of world wine. So most wines, especially in European, actually everywhere in the old world, is very much defined by where it is, not so much the grape varietal or whatever. And there's only certain grape varietals that can be done. So if you really want to understand wines, any of the atlases are a good one. This is actually my favorite, just so happened to be here in the library. If you're going to go on vacation and visit someplace and look at varietals, super cool.
Another one right here.
And the wine encyclopedia,
Hi,
yeah.
Uncle Gus.
Hi. Awesome. Well,
So, little update, what's going on at Wilson Creek. We, in the vineyard, we are just finishing up our final prune. So we do pruning in two stages. We do a primary prune, which is just a cut and clean. And then we go through and do a final prune, which is an amazing art. We just finished doing a wine academy on wine pruning, and people were sort of blown away with how complicated it is and how many decisions you make. I always love it that executives are supposedly compensated well for making decisions, and I think they've never had to prune a vineyard before.
yeah, and the very first decision you make is, should I hit the snooze button?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you can get up early.
No,
to
I'm
have
not.
to do
I'm
it.
going in. I'm going in.
Yeah, we're doing a small growers group for pruning, and we're the MSJC Mount San Jacinto College viticulture class is back. We're still online, but we'll be going in person in the middle of March. And you're teaching down at San Diego State, right?
Yes.
Enology.
Yeah, winemaking.
Are you online or are you in person?
Right now we're going in person. Yeah.
So everyone has to wear baggies?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yeah,
Okay,
long
cool.
drive down there to campus, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, the challenge is we can't do in-person wine tasting. It's what I've liked about the in-person is we tie wines to the region of the winemaking style or the variety. It just really hits home with people. So I miss that a lot. What's going on in winemaking?
Well, we are into the bottling season, so
You're always
we're
into the
just-
bottles.
Exactly.
I said, what's new?
That's what's new. Right, bottling season, and it's basically first of the year all the way to June. So we're emptying barrels, blending wines, filtering them, getting them ready. So bit of a challenge this year with logistics and getting bottles delivered here on time, but we're thinking way ahead, and it seems to be coming together pretty well. But a few challenges, but all in all, pretty good.
Good. Yeah, so people understand the sort of schedule of the winery and the vineyard is, of course, we're harvesting all fall, and then you're fermenting the wines mostly through the holiday season. And
Correct.
right now, the first of your whites are ready to bottle, and you're
Correct.
pulling reds that have been in barrels for anywhere from 1 to 2 years,
2 years,
blending
yes.
and
Exactly.
putting them in bottles.
Correct.
If you want to get some sense of how much we've grown over the years, the barrel room used to actually also double as an event room. But there is no room in that. It is floor to ceiling barrels.
I took it over.
You just
I
took
just
it back.
over.
It's about time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the home for the barrels, and it's packed full of them as well. So, yeah, we're growing.
Yeah.
We're definitely
we're growing
growing
a lot. Same with the
Yeah.
vineyard. We started out with 61 acres here at the home vineyard. We now have a little more than that. We're about 75 planted out of 100 total at the home vineyard. But we're going to break 200 acres this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
200 acres.
So what we do is we're expanding out into other vineyards nearby, and it's a lot like the negociant model in the European winemaking, where we're out, we manage the vineyards, but it's all for our production. So we're busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone has a Zinfandel or Cabernet vineyard that's at least a couple acres or more, give me a call. It's two things I'm always looking for. Also, if it-
1-800-NEED-WINE.
need wine, yeah.
1-800-NEED-GRAPES.
Or if anyone's got a great old van or old pickup truck, preferably with 4 doors, I need that too. Actually,
All
we have
right.
anything useful. So, what are we tasting?
Let's go ahead and do some tasting. Don't you just love this room, this setting? We're in the library of at Wilson Creek. We're on top of the tasting room, and this is the eye of the hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you are looking for an experience where you just want to sit back, sit down, enjoy older wines, our library wines, and get away from the hustle and bustle and livelihood that normally happens downstairs, this is the place to be. This is
Or
very
you
nice.
can people watch for an hour or two,
Oh, yeah.
and when you're thoroughly sick of people watching, you can come up here and do the library experience. So what libraries mean in a winery is we take a select amount of wines, especially those that we think are going to age well,
Yes.
and we put them aside and we pull them out when they think they've changed character or sort of reached their peak
Right.
of interest.
Right.
And that's what's going on in the library. So it is a guided pairing and tasting. It's very exclusive, super cool. It's in the upper rooms for small groups. If you want to do something special with some really cool clients, or if you want to get back in good graces with your wife,
Right.
or if
There you
your
go.
mother-in-law is showing up and you
In-laws.
want to the in-laws, yeah, it's always a good.
Out, then combine the two together, and that's the Yes Dear Chardonnay.
So you're sitting in a barrel. You have primarily malic acid.
Malic
How do you
acid.
get to lactic acid?
Well, we add a bacterium to it, and this is the Malolactic Bacterium, and this bacteria acts just like yeast.
Oh, it's mallow. I always thought it was mellow.
Malolactic.
Melolactic. It's like warm milk before you go to bed. It's
Mallow.
melolactic.
What it does is it uses that acid as a food source and ferments it to a lactic acid. It goes through a number of stages. So the trick here is to stress it out a little bit. So instead of going fully into the lactic, it produces some diacetyl components, which gives you that butter character.
So when you have to work with diacetyls all day, you need to malolactic at the end of the day with a glass of Yes Dear Chardonnay.
What are you doing? This is a role reversal.
It's true.
Yeah.
Here's actually why I'm really interested in this vintage of the Yes Dear. We tend to go really deep into the kind of Rumbauer style buttery Chardonnays. This one's a little less. It's pulled back a notch.
A little bit. Yeah.
What I like about it is that green apple. This has like has a little bit of green apple, really ripe yellow apple. There's a little leche in it. There's a little bit tropical fruit in this. Just a hint.
I got star fruit.
Star fruit? The hell does the star fruit taste like? Or does it smell? Actually, star fruit doesn't smell like anything.
Go to the grocery store, and get yourself some star fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really pleasant, easy drinking Chardonnay. I think it's very nice, very pleasant. Yeah.
So pairing. So often Chardonnay is well known for pairing with foods that need high acid, but that's a northern Chardonnay.
Yeah.
Southern Chardonnays that are buttery
go really well with fried chicken.
Yeah, actually they do. Or the rule I always use is if butter goes good with it, a buttery Chardonnay will go good with it.
There you go.
Lobster, popcorn.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that buttery quality really works.
Right.
Well
I agree. Yeah.
So, nicely done.
Nice.
Yeah, no dump bucket for this one.
No, I think it's fun. All right, got that done.
If you guys watching have any questions, please feel free to type those in. We always, even if they have nothing to do with wine and winemaking, we'll always answer meaning of life questions and anything else.
Well, let's see. I think maybe go to the Merlot next.
Merlot or GSM
I was
first?
looking at let's go with GSM.
I would go, yeah.
All right, let's do the GSM.
So that doesn't stand for good stuff, Mon. It's Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. Classic Rhone blend. Yeah. All three of those come from the Rhone, all blend out. And sort of in classic blending, what's really nice about these grapes is Grenache is very light, very fruit driven, doesn't have a whole lot of a finish. Syrah is deep and dark and a little intense and a little tannic.
Yeah.
And Mourvedre is also pretty heavy. Do you think Mourvedre is more of a tannic grape or kind of more of a mid-weight?
Mid-weight, but I like the acidity of it. And
it's a red that has acidity.
Yeah. So think of it in three stages. The Grenache is fruit forward, so it's the first. Syrah, is that deep center, and I think the Mourvedre picks up at the very end, so the finish. So it goes from one to the next to the next. It looks kind of like...
That's a cool way to think about it, because when we talk about wine, we often talk about the shape, right? So it's the approach, it's the mid-palate, and then it's the finish. And each one sort of owns a territory.
Yeah.
So it's Grenache in the approach,
yes.
Syrah in the mid-palate, and
Correct.
Mourvedre in the finish. Cool. I like it.
Because when you're tasting it, that tannicky character of this wine, although light and well integrated, you feel it in the middle of the palate, where you're really picking up that earthiness of the Syrah, is where you kind of are aware of the tannin. And then the final signature is that tart cherry, which is really prominent, I think, with our Mourvedres out here. So you pick that up at very on the finish.
Nice.
Yeah. This is if you're starting off in red wines, I think this is a nice one. Because it's got a lot going for it, and you are able to sit back and sort of start looking at various components of the wine. I think this is a really nice wine that will probably pair well with so many things.
It also is much easier to pronounce at a party than Mourvedre.
Yes.
Grenache isn't that hard. It's hard to spell.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to pronounce.
But the Mourvedre.
Yeah. So in the vineyard, Grenache actually does really well here. It's a very large cluster grape. It's very vigorous. It's actually my biggest problem is holding back its vigor a little so you get that consistency. I've also noticed if I let a vineyard slightly overcrop, you lose that lovely kind of strawberry quality that Grenache has.
Right.
And it just goes to sort of a general fruit.
It's fat. It's flabby.
It gets a little flabby.
Yeah. The acidity really nice. And I think that just a hallmark of the Malbec.
I never thought about that with the Malbec. That's interesting because I have a really hard time holding on to the acid in the Grenache. But
Yeah.
Malbec, it's probably one of my finickiest grapes in the vineyard. If you have two clusters that are touching, they'll get rot. I mean, you can't let the clusters touch. It's
There's
like
a
having,
joke in there somewhere.
there is. It's two kids in the backseat of your station wagon going to grandma's house. If they're touching, you've got problems.
Yeah.
That's Mourvedre.
Yeah.
But it's also late in the season. It's close to ripe, but not quite. Close, and it just goes on, and then boom. it
Okay,
ripens.
see, this is a 2019 that we're tasting, a 2019 GSM. And it's, as the wine is maturing, see, I'm tasting this and I'm thinking in the future here.
Mm-hmm.
I think this definitely has another year or two in the
Yep.
bottle before you really, I think another couple years of this GSM in the bottle, and it'll be ready for
The
for this
library.
room.
Yeah,
I think so.
I agree. This would be a nice one.
I think so. The tannins are really starting to integrate really well, and the fruit is starting to open up a little bit. So I think this is developing nicely. I like it.
For a GSM, it has a
Yeah.
little more backbone than a lot of GSMs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would agree with
It
that.
sounds like a type of car, a car manufacturer.
GSM?
Yeah.
I would drive a GSM any day. Officer, I'm not drunk. I'm driving a GSM, honest.
Oh, okay. I think.
So we
let's go
have
with
the
or
Merlot.
Malbec.
Yeah, I would do Merlot and Malbec.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're wondering what we're doing here. So we're looking at the wines and we're trying to figure out the tasting order. So we're going, of course, started off with the white wine and then we went with the light red and we're working for kind of a darker, heavier reds all the way to the finish. And so as we're looking at these, you know, they're kind of similar, the Malbec and the Merlot, but I think the Merlot may be a little bit lighter in body. So that's why we're trying that next. A little heavier than the GSM, a little lighter than the Malbec. So, and as you can see right off the bat
Thank you.
with the color of the wine.
So
Yeah.
Merlot's an interesting grape. It still is one of the workhorse grapes, but it got a real bashing with a movie called Sideways.
Which is
Where
funny.
Yeah, because at the end of the movie, they wind up, having the ultimate wine of expression for this wine snob is a left bank Bordeaux.
Yeah,
Which is at least 60% Merlot.
it's mostly Merlot. And he was hoarding that one bottle all
Yeah.
his life. It's like his dream wine, the one that he's going to really enjoy, and it's basically a Merlot.
Yes.
Unbeknownst to him. So it's a little insider wine joke.
It's a wine joke, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because genetically, Merlot is related to Cabernet Sauvignon and Cab Franc.
Right.
And so it's interesting that, first of all, they grow in the same region. They grow in the Bordeaux region. Not all. The predominant varieties in Bordeaux is Merlot and Cab. The difference is whether it's right bank or left bank, and it's just slightly different ratios.
Right.
They blend each other out. Merlot is known for being kind of silky and smooth, but not quite as powerful, whereas Cab can be pretty tannic and pretty intense. You really want to take Cab down a
Right.
notch or two if you can.
Wow.
So you're getting-
I haven't tried this wine in a while.
yeah, me neither.
And this is a 19 Merlot. I like the aromatics,
A lot.
right?
Yep.
Boy, you really pick up that oak in this one.
You can pick up the oak and
I do. That's really interesting. And this is a 19 Merlot, and it's really developing nicely. I like it in the glass.
so both of these, the GSM and the Merlot, are 19s. 19 was the last year non-drought year we had. We had 18 was just a banner year, but 19 was just another good year. We had a lot of rain. We had pretty good crop. It was just a nice year.
Boy,
I'm picking up something on the nose it's sweet and woody, so you can pick up the wood.
Kind of
but-
almost a vanilla character.
Yep, I'm getting that caramel. That's
yeah.
what it is, caramel.
Caramel or caramel?
Caramel.
Okay.
Is it caramel?
Is it pecan or pecan?
Pecan.
Okay.
Is it aluminium?
Is it ketchup or ketchup?
It's definitely ketchup. If you say ketchup, you're from some weird place.
Oh. boy, I'm sitting back on this one. This one too, I think will probably eventually see itself here in the library.
Yes. Probably a year or two less. It doesn't quite have that
Interesting.
backbone that
The
the other
acidity,
one, but
the acidity.
this is
a little
really
less.
nice right now, to be honest. This is really
Yeah,
opened
the
up
acidity
nicely.
is pretty much where it needs to be.
Yep.
I gotta look at my notes on this one. We did something right here. What did I do? What did I do? I don't remember.
And just, a pitch for Merlots. Merlots have really gotten a bad rap, and it's too bad because they're one of the noble grapes. They're found everywhere. They're great blending grapes. They're just a
Right.
good varietal.
Right.
And there's some really interesting Merlot regions. I mean, for me, I think the most interesting right now is Eastern Washington Merlots.
Okay.
They're a great bargain. They're just great tasting wines, but it can get similar climate to Temecula, hot and dry, cool in the evening. It gets that diurnal shift.
Got
So
it.
even though it's pretty far away from the coast, it gets that good diurnal shift in the mountains.
Careful how you swirl that glass. You may go over the edge.
Yeah, I
on
know.
your nice white shirt. Yeah, that's nice.
So
Yeah.
pairing with this, it's a little more mid-weight. I wouldn't go anything really. I wouldn't go like lamb or anything with this.
Oh gosh, no.
I would go a couple steps down. A nice sweet barbecued ribs with
Of
this.
course. Yeah.
This would I think this would go good even with like chicken with mushrooms, if something that had a little bit soft, not like earthy, but something a little softer and sweeter.
I'm thinking pasta with tomato sauce.
Yep.
Tomato sauce like dishes. I think the acidity is there, but I think it can hold up to the tomato acid as well. I'm looking at the.
That's a tall order, but I think you're right.
I'm comparing it to like a Sangiovese or something in some ways. You know how it has a lot of the characteristics of a lighter or a medium-bodied red. So I'm thinking pasta dishes with tomato sauce like that would really work well with this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Even chicken, with tomato base.
Well, chicken is the Chardonnay of meats,
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's kind of neutral. It depends on what
Right.
sauce is with it and how you blend it.
Wait, you guys can check your mics really quick? Just
Oh.
see if they're on.
Mine is.
Mine's working.
I got a little letter. It says,
Is yours working? Okay.
Greg, unlocked.
You're good if it's lit up. If you're seeing something.
I'm only 2 glasses in. I'm not lit up yet.
I'm not.
Mine's
Hey,
working. Mine's working.
Gus is
So
doing
while we're-
unusually small pours. This is
Well-
definitely a role reversal night.
Sadie says she likes to pair a pulled pork sandwich with a glass of wine.
That's a good
another
call.
one, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that little bit of sweetness with pulled pork.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Alan Burrows said how much fun he had at your pruning.
Oh, cool. That was a fun class, and everyone walked out with all 10 digits. That's a successful class. Yeah, that was good. It was amazing watching Pedro. He taught the class with me, my vineyard foreman.
All right.
And it took him a good 10 or 15 minutes to describe all the decisions he makes in one vine. And then we said, okay, if you're not explaining it, how long does it take? And he did that one vine in about 35 seconds. He just blew through it, making that many decisions. So thank you. We're glad to have you out and glad you enjoyed it.
I guess we're tasting a bunch of 19s, is what it is, other than the Yes Dear, which is a 20.
These are in the
So-
wine club shipment.
They're on the
Okay.
wine club shipment.
For the wine club.
So is this the Malbec?
Wow, the Malbec, yeah. I'm not going to say anything. You tell me what you think right off the bat.
Well, off the rim of the glass, not the bat, I'm getting these really nice, very ripe cherry. There's an earthy note, almost like a balsam
Yeah.
in this.
Yes. And just a lot of wood. Huh?
There's a lot of wood, but light
really-
wood,
yeah.
light toast.
Really, the aromatics of the oak is really evident. That's really nice.
Oak?
Yeah.
Oak can be either kind of chewy floorboard smell or this real nice light balsam kind of. When Chardonnay it comes out as vanilla, and in some it comes out really woody. This
Boy,
is just coming out like nice balsam acacia.
Everything's up in front too. I like that.
I haven't even gotten to the palate yet.
Can you explain the difference in the glasses that you're using that are here in the reserve room and what a difference the glass makes when you're tasting?
Oh.
Yes. That's all you need to know.
Well, these glasses, the glass itself is very thick, right? So there's more of a transference of heat to the glass. So, when you serve these wines, they're cool, they're cellar temperature. And by swirling and coating the outside of this glass, you're heating up that wine and making that, that wine evaporate inside the glass. And there's a larger area to hold it. So when you smell it, you really get a good aroma for it. If the glass is thicker, there's less of that transference. The bowl is smaller, the less intense flavor aromas that you get in the bowl. So and being big like this, you get to see the wine better.
Yep.
You can see the clarity of the wine better.
So there's a couple things. There's the shape. So
shape.
Usually you have the biggest division is sparkling, white, and reds.
Yeah.
Sparkling obviously has to be cylindrical. It needs to be a champagne glass. Whites tend to be a little more tulip shaped, where the top comes to more of a cone and the mid base is wider. The reason you're doing that is the primary aspect of a white wine is the aromatics. So you want those aromatics to collect in the top because that's what you're pulling. With a white wine, you want them to collect a little bit, but not too much. But mostly you want a big bowl so you can really swirl it. Red wine needs to breathe, and that's what you're able to do with red wine.
This reminds me of an Erlenmeyer flask. In chemistry, there's a flask that's really wide on the base and it narrows at the top. So when you swirl it, the wine doesn't swirl out of it swirls and it splashes in. So that shape splashes in, and it collects the aromas right there, and you get to experience it.
Invented by the Earl of Meyer.
Yeah.
The other thing that makes these is, not only is the crystal just really nice quality. I was only half kidding when I did that. You can actually see it. So a lot of wine is visual inspection of the wine. You're looking at the color, how much oxidation is in it, how much potential it has.
Yeah.
There's also another thing you'll notice on really good glasses, the edge is sharp. It's a cut edge versus a cast edge. And if the edge is sharp, you get a tiny bit of micro oxidation coming over the edge. So it gives you all the aspects. Having the right glasses helps. To be honest, I've never gone off the edge. Yeah, same here.
These are the right glasses. I can see it.
I've never gone off the deep edge with like Riedel. They have $50 glasses or whatever they are. But good glasses are a great investment. Keep them away from your partying friends and your kids.
Yeah, right.
So the glasses you steal from Wilson Creek, use those every day. And then when you're tasting really good wines, get a really good set. Or come up to the library.
Yeah.
Wonder if you could steal these. I hope not. They're really expensive and they're hard to get. This is part of the you'll notice in the tasting room we don't have all the same glasses, and it's because we've just had a shortage of everything this year, including glass. Great question. Thanks for that.
Back to the wine. It's really up front. More than the Merlot and the GSM.
Yes.
More upfront stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Malbecs are generally known for being sort of intense, heavy wines. This is a little more midweight, but it brings out that fruit quality of a Malbec. Malbecs are another one. They're grown in a lot of major wine regions. Of course, Argentina is sort of the most famous place for Malbecs.
Yep.
You can get a lot of really bad commercial wines in Argentina that are grown on the sea level flat. The secret code for Malbecs, if you're getting them from Argentina, is to look in the back, and if it says grown above 1,000 meters, that's the second plateau that's right up against I guess in Argentina would be the Andes or the Patagonias.
Those are, I think it's in the Andes range. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so you're getting a diurnal shift from the mountains, just like we were talking about with the Merlot in eastern Washington. Here, Malbec, just does really well here. It's one of those grapes that holds up to the heat pretty well. And I like this kind of not overly jammy, overly heavy. I like that sort of lighter expression of this on the Malbec. It's just, it brings out the best of what Malbec can be.
Is Malbec dry? A dry wine?
All these red wines, yes, the sugar level of these wines are way below 1%, so they're considered dry. In other words, lacking in sugar. But some people say dry, and they're talking about the acidity of the wine, the tartness of the wine as well.
Right.
So if you're speaking about the tartness and the acidity of the wine, I'm thinking the Malbec's acidity is definitely lighter than the Merlot and definitely lighter than the GSM.
Yep.
I think it's not as crisp acidically as those two.
Also, the tannins are softer. So you're not only getting less acid, you're getting less tannins, so you get less of that bite. And
I think you're getting more of the influence of the grape skin tannin with this one as
Yep.
opposed to oak tannin.
yep.
And so with that incorporation, it's really soft. Yeah, and it's nice, huh?
Yeah, this one really opens
Okay.
up in the glass beautifully.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I think it's just, and that's the beauty of trying the wines here in the library, is that there's no hurry.
Yeah.
You can really sit back, or sitting back with your friends, and you can just sit there and enjoy that wine and seeing how it progresses and develops in the glass.
And I will
Obviously.
mention, we don't have a librarian sitting in the
No.
corner desk going shh the whole time.
No, there's no Dewey Decimal System.
That so ages you, man.
I know it.
I remember when we went from the Dewey Decimal System to the Library of Congress system. It was like a big deal.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe instead of calling it the library room, we should call it the Wikipedia room, right? Is that the new? That's the new, encyclopedia and library, right? So we're going to finish this off.
Zinfandel.
With the Zen, the 2019 Zinfandel. Yeah.
So I've been practicing something for this Zin. So Zinfandel has a fascinating history as a grape. Zinfandels in California were originally we thought they were brought by a guy named Hazardney. And he was the father of modern winemaking in California. He created the first major commercial winery up in Sonoma. It's still open. It actually closed and reopened, but anyways.
He came through Temecula too.
He actually was originally in Temecula and was working with another guy called Edward Wiens, who actually identified Temecula as the best wine growing region in California. And if it wasn't for some family financial problems, Temecula probably would have been the original Sonoma Napa. In the mid-1800s, Los Angeles and Rancho Cucamonga were the largest wine producing regions in California.
Right.
And Temecula,
Anaheim.
still to this day, has the oldest contiguously producing vineyard in California, which is on the Pechanga Reservation, which my students and I are going to go prune on Sunday.
There they go.
Yeah. They originally thought that he brought them from Hungary. But recently they have found Zinfandel genetics that were brought to Long Island about 50 years prior.
Long Island.
Long Island, which came from Austria. When they dug even further, they realized that the origin was actually in mid-coastal Italy.
Okay.
Yeah, not
Okay.
Boston, the
Yeah.
Italian, in a varietal that we still have called Primitivo.
Right.
So we thought we found ground zero with Zinfandel until the geneticists went out to Croatia.
Across the pond there.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Across
I mean,
the
they're
wa-
really
yeah.
close that they would be
Yeah,
trading.
right across the Adriatic, right?
Okay, so here's what I've been practicing.
Okay.
So,
What is the Croatian
Costitis
name?
Visgerda. Tell me if I'm getting this right, okay? It's Kloslanek Talenski.
Wow.
Talenski. Kloslanek Talenski, which I've always known as Molly Plavich.
Yeah, there you go. It's you're very good at that.
I was trying to figure out ways of remembering it, So I was thinking, it's like I'm a dictator and go, we must support Kloslanek Lavensky, and that didn't work. And then it's like, oh, my little pussycat, do you want some more Kloslanek Lavensky? And that didn't work, and I couldn't find any way to make it work.
I'm glad we stuck with Zinfandel.
Just stuck with
I think we hit it. It's a very easy one.
In your opinion, what is the best wine that Wilson Creek produces? Red wine.
I think I think as we grow and progress, and there's a history of our wines here in the valley and also in Temecula, at Wilson Creek, I think one of the hallmark grape varieties is definitely Petite Syrah.
Yeah, I would agree. But I would have a counter question back.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite child? There's a couple. Petite Syrah is,
I think,
definitely a standard bearer for
I
Temecula.
think it does. Because what you're doing is you have to find a great variety that just holds you apart. Mm-hmm. And one part is just the way it grows here, the characteristics, the flavor, and whatever. But the second thing is what you do with it. And so we have the Petite Syrah, we have the Double Dog, and we do late harvest Petite Syrahs periodically when the conditions are right. So we have different variations of it. And I think by looking at and exploring that, and looking at the fruit and how well it grows, the combination of the two, I think, makes it one of the premier grape varieties of Wilson Creek.
Yep, I would agree with that.
But there are others as well.
There's a couple of really interesting honorable mentions.
Yes.
One is Viognier expresses in this valley in a
Correct.
way, and actually you're pretty famous for your treatment of Viogniers in the valley.
Oh, this last one?
Yeah, well.
Spoiler alert, when the 21 Viognier comes out, you definitely have to try it. I think it's one of the best we've done in quite a while.
Yeah.
It's dry, but it's packed full of fruit, and it's really nice, the acidity, etc. So, I think it was bottled about a month ago, and they're going to be releasing it shortly.
Okay.
But you're right. I think Viognier is another one.
Yeah.
Roussanne, along with that.
Roussanne's interesting. It's a white wine that tastes like a red wine. It's got body, it's got depth, it's got character.
Yeah.
It matures at the same time as most of the red wines, which is interesting. Other ones that I think are pretty interesting. Cinsault. If you like Pinot Noirs, you should love Cinsault. I love Pinots, and I love Cinsault even more.
You don't see a lot of Cinsault. And I just was...
Is that so?
So, exactly. But I tried some from, Europe.
Was it so-so Cinsault? Or
it was...
Go Cinsault?
Go Cinsault. But I tried it and compared it, and I was super impressed that the expression of the flavor of the fruit is very similar to... But it also, I think it packs another layer or two of character and flavor. So Cinsault is another one.
Cinsault's a grape that actually loves the heat.
Along that line, Sadie's asking if Wilson Creek will ever explore a Pinot Noir.
Well,
we have a couple acres of Pinot, so we might do something with it. Here's the challenge. It's really hard to get Pinot to express like people expect a Pinot, rose petals, medium weight, all those. It's just a little bit hot here for it.
Pinot loves cool, cold weather areas, and that's definitely not what we have here in Temecula. However, being the winery that we are, and we are always thinking out of the box, we are going to actually be bottling a Pinot this year. But not the Pinot you think. We're actually making a rosé of Pinot. It's a rosé of Pinot Noir and Pinot Grigio, Pinot Gris. So it's a combination of those. It's made into a rosé.
And we guarantee we will not name it Pinot Noir.
No. The thing is what we're trying to do, this is kind of interesting, since the Pinots grown here in the valley are big, fat, and juicy and don't showcase like the Pinots in cooler areas, I think a good alternative in our case, and we're just playing around with this, is we made a rosé. Mm-hmm. And so you got that light character, that fruitiness that's typical, but in a lighter form, in a rosé form.
And Pinots make nice rosés in general. Even in Provence. They'll do Pinot.
Yes, absolutely.
But and also, think about it.
Sparkling wine.
Right, they use Pinots and sparkling wines, right? So it's obviously it does well without having a lot of color extraction. Or pretty decent acid. And the block that we have, it's actually a very low-lying block that has a lot of natural water in it. So I sometimes even semi-dry farm that. I'll let that go with very low irrigation until we get the heat, and then I'll put a little irrigation on it.
So sometimes we just have to deal with what we have here in the valley, and some varieties, just like as a Pinot, for instance, is super difficult to super difficult to almost impossible to express in a classic Pinot sense. So we're going a little unclassical by making a rosé.
Yep. And who's the name? Who said the Pinot?
Sadie, she said
Sadie.
she's looking, she thinks she'll really like that blend and she's looking forward to it.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. I think you will.
It's dry. We made it dry.
But also become familiar with Cinsault. I love Pinots also. I share that love with you, and I would really recommend really getting to know Cinsauts.
Cinsault and Mauvais.
Yeah, and Mourvèdre. On Pinots, looking outside the Temecula region, of course, Willamette Valley's super
Sure.
famous for them. I think they're overrated, to be honest,
Santa Rosa.
a little bit. Yeah, the Russian River
Yeah.
makes some beautiful Pinots. Washington's even making some okay Pinots. My favorite, if you can find it, is a really good Pinot from New Zealand. New Zealand makes these beautiful Pinots that, if you like that classic rose,
Yeah.
dried rose bouquet thing of a Pinot. But man, I drink a lot of Cinsault now. I really like Cinsault. Other varietals of interest, we did Barbera for the first time this year.
No, this is the second year.
It's the second year?
Yeah, second year.
Okay.
Second year. So we have 2
Wait,
years.
where'd you get Barbera last year? You cheating on me?
No, you gave it to me.
Oh,
It
we're
was
getting,
a
we're getting
small
too
amount.
many blocks.
was
That
small.
shows how much we're growing.
Yeah.
Pedro and I
so-
occasionally pull into a block and we look at each other and goes, "Is this ours?"
Yeah, I've got a 20 and a 21. And
Oh, that's
so-
right. We had it from the. That's right, Mike's
Right.
Vineyard. That's right.
Right, and so that one I'm going to hold back a little bit and see. The thing about that Barbera is the fruit is really good and the acidity is phenomenal. So-
Yeah, it holds up in the heat beautifully. Another one that surprised us a little bit this year was Tempranillo.
Oh yeah.
Just it held up really well. It's just beautiful fruit.
Yeah.
Tempranillo is much more on the acidic side. It's a grippy. tannic.
It's a Cabernet Light,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at it.
Cool.
Any other questions?
Well, I think you kind of answered. Somebody asked, what new wines are you excited about that are coming?
We
Well,
are
it's
excited
that.
about whatever can fit in the tanks that we have.
I'm always looking. I'm always looking, experimenting, thinking out of the box, trying to put something.
I have
together.
one that Gus and I are both really excited about, Tanat.
Right.
We have a small block of Tanat that we use for color, but there's new clones that are better as a varietal.
Correct.
And we took on a small grower and we've already planted a full acre of a varietally true Tanat.
Right.
And I think I might put in a couple more acres. They're just really nice.
Yeah, and that's a place that we're going to look at, maybe doing a combination of a Tanat and Petite Verdot blend type wine. So we're talking about an inky black red wine with very earthy tones and higher than normal amount of tannin. So in other words, that one definitely will come to this room down the line and probably be around for quite a while. I'm also looking at probably putting in a Tempranillo here, somewhere down the line. I'm also experimenting with rosés. We got that rosé of Pinot I think is going to be quite nice. I'm also looking at other types of rosés, maybe rosé of Mourvèdre would be kind of nice. Experimenting a little bit with that. We're also looking at late harvest and dessert wines. We're experimenting with those. We're looking at late harvest Petite Syrah. We have right now in the barrel, we have a late harvest Zinfandel, stuff like that. So
That was one of the other questions, if you're looking at any of the flavored dessert wines for Christmas, if
Right.
anything's coming.
right.
Yeah, so along those lines, so we do some of the dessert wines ourselves. We get some from the Cucamonga Valley, which is from the very old, vines up with Galliano Winery,
Yeah.
who has been longtime, family friends of the winery. Along those lines, I am also looking at possibly doing a couple acres of the original Mission grape
Oh,
that is in the Pechanga Reservation, so we could do some classic Mission I guess it would be classified as a port, wouldn't it? Or it'd be a, or
It
it'd be
would
a
have
sherry.
been, yeah, no, it'd
It'd
be
be
a
a
port.
port, it's not a, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
There's also, we got a one-off years ago, Rose of Peru,
Yes.
which also came from the Cucamonga Valley. There
Right.
is literally just a handful of vines left.
Right.
It's a varietal that's completely unique to the
a
Cucamonga
cousin,
Valley.
I think, to the Mission grape, right?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's half Mission.
Yeah.
So the story with that is Mission actually went up to Cucamonga Valley. They take cuttings. It went down to Peru. It naturally crossed with something in Peru and
Right.
came back.
Right.
And that's just an heirloom variety that we don't want to let go. So if I can find
Some cuttings of that.
well, I have cuttings with it. I just need to find an acre or two, figure out what's appropriate. So if I find the appropriate crazy landowner that wants to do a 50-year project with us, we're all in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know when the first release of a new wine will be?
Well, that's the fun part. You see, I'm just one corner of a large triangle,
Yeah.
and that's production. So what we do is we make the wines, releasing the everything you see here is marketing and sales. The label, the bottle shape, when everything like this newsfeed.
Is that the cab?
This one is the Zin.
Oh, the Zin. That's what I was
the cost
looking
of
for.
the wine, the release dates are done by sales. I have no idea. I have no idea.
So Alan also asked, is the 80-20-20-80 ever coming back?
Right. Well, we had a little bit of this year. We had a little tiny bit of leftover Merlot, Muscat. So I could not do both. So I asked which one was more popular. Was it the 80% Muscat, 20% Viognier, or was it the reverse, the 80% Viognier and 20% Muscat? And I was told that it was the Muscat heavy, so the 80-20. So I took that little bit of that Muscat that was left over, put that, and I made the 80-20 and not the 20-80. So you'll see that.
Yeah.
So you'll see that out this year.
And I can confirm that the rumors are true that when they're fermenting the Muscat, they play Captain and Tennille Muscat Love 24 hours a day
You're showing
for
your
weeks.
age. Yeah, you're showing your age.
So when you were going over the Yes Dear Chardonnay,
Yes.
the sound cut out. So can you just do a little quick recap of the Yes Dear?
Sure.
Somebody-
It's very
somebody-
nice. Is that too quick?
Kelly would like to know if you can go over it.
Sure.
A small.
You want me to drink more wine? Oh, absolutely. No problem.
So, Callie, this is a warm weather Chardonnay. It
Mhm.
means it's going to be soft. It goes through a process called
We
malolactic.
gotta have some in our glass.
That yeah, I'll switch back. That's
Come
a
on,
nice
we
Chardonnay.
we gotta go back in time a little bit.
We have a rosé now,
Okay,
though.
so welcome everyone to this wine tasting. We're going to be trying the
Rose of
Yes Dear
of
Chardonnay.
Yes Dear.
Yes. And this is the 2020 Yes Dear Chardonnay. And what we did
Looks
is
surprisingly
we,
like the white cab, doesn't it?
we exactly we fermented half of this in a large format French oak barrel. So you definitely get that nice French oak. We got a little bit of malolactic character to it, and I think it's a good combination. Half was in there, and the other half was in tanks.
Yep, and that comes from cows that are on medical marijuana, malolactic.
Yeah, right.
We add a little bit of that to the barrel. But as a wine, so, you know, Chardonnays go all the way from Chablis, bright, acidic, you know, palate cleansing, to Southern Chardonnays. This is an expression of a Southern Chardonnay.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
soft, it's buttery,
Yeah.
it goes wonderful with any meal that works with butter, pretty much. That's the
Yeah.
easy thing with the buttery Chardonnay.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, this one is a little less over the top buttery than ones in the past, and I
Right.
actually like it better.
Right.
It has that little bit of buttery, it has that softness, but you can still taste the Chardonnay through it.
Mhm.
So I think you hit this one
It's really
spot
nice.
on.
I think it's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that enough of the summary?
That's a good summary.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
Yay!
you for explaining that.
Yay.
Alan has one more question. Would Carminery
Carmenere.
Carmenere.
Great and too good and Temecula. Good thing I'm not sitting over there.
Carmenere, boy. They could do well here.
Yeah, Carmenere. I don't have. I've never grown it, but I've read about it
Mm-hmm.
and I've drunk it.
Was that developed by that one Davis guy, UC Davis guy?
I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know the answer to that.
Um,
It's my understanding that it's more popular in the Central Coast. I don't know
Yeah.
if it needs that coastal influence.
I don't know.
Speaking of kind of future things, one of the things we're looking at is the Temecula Valley is really wonderful for warm, heat-loving varietals that like that diurnal shift. Diurnal means between day and night. We're looking at possibly expanding up into the Duluth region, which has much more of a coastal influence and is
Right.
a full Winkler zone cooler than we are here.
Right.
So if anyone has 500 acres in Duluth that's
Yeah.
burning a hole in their pocket, call me.
But the Carmenere, I think, not very popular as far as a great variety. It's mostly, I've seen it as a standalone here and there. It's more for a blender because it's really heavy on tannin.
Yeah.
Very tannicky red wine that requires a lot of aging. You see it here and there, like you said, I think mostly in the Central Coast area. I don't think anyone here, maybe
I don't know of any
anyone
Temecula
in
Carmeneres.
Temecula. If there is, it's small amounts, not very popular. And when you're spending thousands of dollars of putting a vineyard, you're more apt to put in a cab or
Yeah,
Merlot.
something that you know is
Yeah.
going to work. That being said, one of the most interesting things to Temecula about this region is grapes originated in what's now modern day Iraq and Iran. Grapes like it hot. A lot of varietals actually do really well in this climate. So if you go to the Willamette Valley, you're going to get Merlot and Pinot and Chardonnay and a few things like that. But down here, we have this wide palette of stuff that grows pretty well here.
Right.
So Temecula is a wonderful place to come to learn about wines. You can literally do the whole Rhone, which is kind of the most representative cross section of modern
Syrah,
winemaking.
Rhone. He's talking about Syrah, Viennese, and stuff like that. Those are the Rhone varieties.
Yeah. So when California craft winemaking really took off in the mid 80s
Yeah.
to early 90s, and especially in the early aughts, there was a group of people called the Rhone Rangers.
Yeah.
And they just said, we have a Rhone climate here, so let's go with it. And that's why a lot of our wines are based on Rhone varietals.
Yeah.
It was that saying, we have a similar climate, let's base on that. But we now have Italian influence,
Gosh.
Sangiovese.
We're all over.
Robert Renzoni, our friend down in the valley, is doing some beautiful Italian varietals. And
All right.
we have folks doing Spanish varietals, and it's the diversity here is really interesting.
Do we have any other questions? No? Well,
But we have the peanut gallery cracking up, so there's something
Yeah.
going on over here.
No. Well, let's sum this up.
Okay.
I think I think first of all, you can't speak enough about this library wine room. If you're in the Temecula Valley and you want to just kind of get away from that normal tasting and kind of slow down a little bit and enjoy yourself, I would say you definitely got to come up to the library. You're definitely going to have a great experience. You'll be in the center of the hurricane.
Yep.
Everything's going to be around, but you're going to be in that nice quiet spot and you can really enjoy yourself. I think if you want to impress someone and highlight them on wine, you can't go wrong with this room. These wines that you're going to be getting are the 2019s are phenomenal. I think there's a lot of good character. You got wines with some acidity to it. You got soft tannins. You got a lot of fruit to it. I think this is a nice bunch of wines to showcase with this.
It's a nice cross section
Yeah.
of stuff. And with the library, what we've tried to do here is have library super high exclusive experience. Then we have the upper room, super cool intimate experience. Then we have the lower tasting area is sort of divided into two zones. There's the front zone for people that are kind of more return folks, and then the back area for people trying to learn about wines. And then we have the outside areas for people that just want to kind of chill and have a nice
Enjoy the
experience.
weather. Exactly.
So that's kind of our moniker here is, the best wine is the wine that you like, but we're never going to let you stop there. We're going to start with the wine that you like, and then constantly push the envelope a little bit. And if you don't want to go any further than a really nice Yes Dear Chardonnay, good, great, stay there, do what you like. But if you want to dive deep, come to the wine academies, do this
Yeah.
the stuff that we do, come to the library, and then
Come into
you
the-
can come join us in the library.
What do you got? I got Northeast Italy right now.
I got Côte de Beaune.
You got, oh wow.
Otherwise, the correct pronunciation of that in French is Côte de.
Yeah, oh, there you go. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm focusing on the Rhone for some reason tonight. So anyway, thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much.
We so appreciate you guys. You know, if it wasn't for you guys, we would be homeless, errant gypsy winemakers. So we really appreciate you guys supporting that we have a place to live and do what we love to do.
That's true.
Yeah, so,
That's true.
and I can't emphasize how much we appreciate your feedback. If you have ideas, suggestions, feedback, we love to hear from that. And we are sometimes amazed at the insight that we get from our followers and our wine club members. We'll get comments, and Gus and I look at each other and it's like, why didn't we think of that? That's a great idea.
Oh, yeah.
So please keep in touch. Wendy sits in her office all day long, bored with nothing to do. She needs more stuff to do. Send her emails. All right. Anything else you want to add?
No.
Wendy,
no.
anything we want to close with?
I don't think so, you guys hit it all.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers. Wow. That's like a B flat.
You have perfect pitch.
Yeah.